Hey, good afternoon to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista. Welcome to the Hurricane Hub off-season discussion for Saturday, January 28th, 2023. Let's get on with it. Starting off with the NHC homepage where nothing is happening. And honestly, before we go into anything further, I really do need to ask you that I really been using the NHC as a homepage as almost like a title card. And I've been wondering, should I make a title card for the videos instead of having to use the NHC as the homepage, especially since there's nothing going on? Should I make a title card? Should I? Let me know in the comments, and if you guys say I should, I will start making title cards so we can start off with that instead of just using the NHC as a title card. Just to make it look a little more nice, I guess. I suppose, maybe. Let me know. But without further ado, let's get started with what's going on with the Atlantic. Obviously, nothing. The dry air, these extratropical lows. I assume this is a front here. And then we also have this spinning upper level low somewhere out here in the Atlantic. Um, did look a little interesting, I would say, a few days ago, but now that it's kind of been sheared apart and you could clearly see where the shear is. Look at all these westerly winds coming out of the west, moving east, and that's a hallmark of why we don't see tropical cyclone development this time of year in the Atlantic. There's just too much of it, and then you see all of these low-level clouds, really a notation of dry air, all these low-level clouds here, and in the Caribbean too over here. Too much dry air, too much wind shear, and also colder SST temps, because we are, after all, in the northern hemisphere winter. It's January, so everything will be colder around this time of year, so nothing really conducive for development right now in the Atlantic. But a good way to take a look at how warm it is without looking at the SST temps, I like to look at the anomalies, because sometimes they could tell a bigger story as to how warm it is or colder it is compared to normal. And just taking a look at some of those things right now, taking a look at, first of all, one of few things, the Atlantic. The same story over the past few weeks, basically since December. Above normal, the Gulf of Mexico well above normal, and we know what type of implications that'll have, especially in just a few weeks from now. Taking a look at the Pacific, La Nina is still holding on. I'll talk a little bit more in depth about La Nina and El Nino and what's to come for the future of whatever occurs in the ENSO, because it is getting a little dicey. But I will say that there just really isn't a major El Nino signal right now. And the La Nina is still holding on, although it is weakened. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to go back to this warm Atlantic here. Take a look at those anomalies off of Africa, and take a look at the northwestern Atlantic. And that is especially interesting. That has been there for the past few years. You know how I feel about that. Really warm northwestern Atlantic. That'll really be interesting to see how that pans out and how that allows for a balance, if you will, of energy across the Atlantic this year, or does it remain like the past few years where this warm area kind of does interesting stuff and kind of takes the Atlantic into an interesting pattern for weather? We'll have to see, but watching that very closely. And then off the coast of the Pacific, still cold off the west coast of the United States, of course, along the Pacific. That's cold too, kind of denoting that we still have some sort of La Nina pattern, because this is usually, if this is cold and this is cold, usually a signal of what we call a negative PDO, and that kind of occurs when we have some sort of La Nina in place or some sort of colder ENSO, or not necessarily when we have it in place, but those two can correlate together and kind of favor each other in a way when they do occur together. So that is something interesting that I'll be taking into consideration too over these next few weeks. Now let's go to the SOI dashboard. Per the Queensland government, the Bureau of Meteorology, I believe, that runs this page. I'm not sure, but something along those lines, the SOI dashboard. And what is the purpose of the SOI if you're not familiar with it? This is basically looking at the pressure patterns along the Pacific to denote what the trade winds are, which that in itself has a very big impact on ENSO. And the way I like to look at it as a rule of thumb is positive indicates stronger trade winds and more higher or more of a pressure pattern conducive for La Nina, and negative is basically the opposite. And this is something that I've been mentioning over the last few weeks, is the fact of the very strong positive SOI that we've been seeing, and it's dropped down significantly over the past few weeks since early January. As to be expected, this La Nina would weaken anyways, but still we're at a 30-day average of 12 points above normal, and the 90-day average is still not that far down from where it was last month at 14 points. It's now at 11 points, 11.79 to be more exact, and the daily contribution is at 8. So all three of these major kind of indices for each value of the SOI are all pretty, I would say, solidly positive, and usually that would indicate that the atmosphere is still in the La Nina pattern, and that's very noticeable here. If you look at the CDAS, the Nino 3.4 index, taking a look at the SST anomalies more specific towards the ENSO El Nino La Nina region in the Pacific, and we are still very much in the La Nina. Right now, the latest value coming in at 0.9 degrees below normal. And if you take a look at the last few weeks, we've kind of been around the same area, fluctuating up and down, but kind of in the same area. Sure, we've been going up in the last few weeks, but still not that much of a difference. If we were to go to like November, we're still roughly around the 0.9, 0.8, 1.0 below normal area. And if you look at the SOI, that would make sense that we have a more solid, continuous La Nina, and really no sign of El Nino. And that is especially noticeable because I'm going to bring up Andy Hazelton, one of the guys we look at, to give us some more professional insight. And this is interesting, especially when it comes to the future standpoint of ENSO. He mentions that going to be interesting to see what happens with ENSO in the spring, at least over the next couple of weeks. Strong trades, which is noticeable by these blue anomalies right near the international date line, 180 degrees, right along the Pacific. We see the strong trades will persist near the date line, and there's still lots of subsurface heat to the west, but we'll really need to see a westerly wind burst by March or April to really start the flip to a positive ENSO. And first of all, if you're not really familiar with why everybody's saying we'll have an El Nino, well, kind of just one way to look at it is one of the major climate models, the CFS, is forecasting that we would go to a warmer ENSO. They do especially see that clear by the time we get to July. But even then, and by the way, it's not the CFS, it's a bunch of other models too, major models that take the ENSO into a more positive territory. But even then, if the CFS, if we go back to the discussion we had 2 weeks ago, the max value that was forecasted for this El Nino was all the way right near 1 degree Celsius above normal. And we've now gone basically down to right near the borderline of warm neutral and El Nino at peak. And that really does show, because the CFS does update daily to kind of give us a perspective a little bit of what the changing factors are daily and the changing progressing pattern. I guess that's what I like to look at with the CFS with its daily updates. You do notice that if you go back to that discussion we had a few weeks ago when I did show the CFS, it was by 1 degree Celsius compared to now. We've dropped basically to on the border of warm neutral and El Nino, and I think that is a small step in the direction, or I guess a noticeable step, some sort of step, if you will, in the direction to noticing that a lot of the models that were really bullish on El Nino, especially if you go back to December and earlier this month, they're really kind of backing down. And if you just take a look at these factors, one, we have the subsurface, which is warm towards the west, but it's still cold enough in the east that we're still seeing some sort of lift and some sort of grip to this La Nina, although not as strong as we would like it to be if you want this La Nina to really persist. But take that into consideration, plus the fact that we've had a very persistent SOY that's positive and it's not really going down, honestly. At least in my view, I don't really think the SOI is honestly going down as quick as we would as fast as we would need it to be in order for there to be a El Nino, if that makes sense. And then if we also take a look at what Andy is saying here with the anomalies by the date line, take a look at this. All this blue is in meters per second, the zonal winds. So basically, the winds in the atmosphere blowing out of the east or west relative to the scale. I guess that's the best way to put it. If you know what I'm trying to say, like the winds that are blowing, they're blowing either more predominantly out of the east or the west. And if we take a look at that, this is what's represented here, the EPS ensemble over the next 15 days by where the date line. You see all these blues. That is representative of strong trade winds near the date line, which help to stir the waters up and allow for a persistent La Nina. And the fact that we have these persistent anomalies here, that does show the atmosphere is still coupled with the La Nina. So really, we need to see how things will really have to flip, as he's mentioning here, especially by March or April, in order to get a transition to positive ENSO. We really need to see this flip, and the fact that this is still persistent well into January, and people have been saying that maybe by January, February, we will start to see a flip. Still not has happened, so that's why I'm really interested to see where this goes, and it'll be really interesting. Will we see this drop to the point where we do not see a El Nino anymore, and this is one of those other years that was forecast to be a El Nino, but then kind of, didn't really come to fruition? Or will we still see a change by the time we get to March or April? Because take my word for it, these things do change pretty quickly. I will say that in the time that I've been tracking, which is not too long. I don't have that much experience enough to say that it's very for sure that these things do change quickly, but I've seen these type of situations when it comes to ENSO change within just a matter of weeks. And if you look back into history, you'll see that too. So this is why we really need to pay attention as to what occurs with the ENSO and its outcome for hurricane season, because it will be interesting, especially if things trend the way they are trending right now. But it's only January, so we'll see how things progress. It's only January, and things, once again, we have 5 months ahead till the season to really be sure of what will happen. So monitoring this for sure, and we'll give you an update, of course, next week when more things come out. Switching gears to what the weather is going on right here in the United States. Severe weather wise, one of the main things I like to look at when it comes to major weather events, severe weather. Nothing going on today. Very quiet today. No major thunderstorms in the forecast. Take a look at tomorrow. Marginal potential for the Gulf Coast. Looking at Louisiana, Texas, and Alabama, Mississippi, and the Florida Panhandle. So basically along the northern Gulf Coast, minor chances there. And then once again, the day after, I think that's Monday, right? Monday, no major chances once again. And if we go towards the next 4 to 8 days, potential too low, predictability too low, and potential too low once again. Basically, the bottom line, nothing too significant in the next 4 to 8 days, or basically the next week or so. Not looking at anything way too potent or strong. And I will say one thing on the note of winter weather and weather more pertaining to winter is that also applies for the case along the east, specifically along the east coast and the northeast. Specifically, I'm talking about New York, where I live, where there's been a lot of talk, especially recent, about how New York has not seen any sort of measurable snow so far. And I could tell you for sure that that is really the case. There's not been any measurable snow. And That has been the case basically since December. I've actually gotten this interesting fact from someone that I talk with more closely, that shared me the statistic that this winter, between December and January so far, and I guess it's safe to say that it'll be for January as a whole this winter, especially when we look at the models in a second for the next few days, you'll see why. That we've not seen any measurable snow, and it has not happened at all before, where we've not seen any measurable snow in the months of December and January combined in Central Park. Basically, anything that is not a trace, that anything that is actually noticeably accumulative. I guess that's the best way to say it. We have not seen any winter so far when either December or January has seen no snow. Another fact is the fact that we've basically been in this real long drought of no winter, no accumulated snow. I think we're basically right at the record now for 320 something days. I think the record is 328 days of no accumulating snow in Central Park, and we're basically right onto that. And the latest recorded snowfall in the city, which is January 29th, and tomorrow's January 29th. And if we take a look at the models, January 28th, forecast hour 12, January 29th, and if we go to January 30th, no snow. So we're probably going to break that record too. And if we take a look in the next few weeks, we're going on to 96 hours out, February 1st. Still no snow. A storm system seems to be coming in. That switches over to rain, brings snow towards the interior, northeast, maybe to Boston. There might be a little bit of snow. Still, nothing. Not looking at anything accumulating. Then we're already up to 1 hour, hour 180. High pressure building over the east, so obviously not going to see any snow that way. And then we go to the hour into the 200s. Another storm system makes its way up the east coast. No snow for the coast. Moving on, and it just keeps on going. See, no snow, and by the time we're up to hour 384, we're at February 13th, and there's still no snow. So definitely certainly safe to say for the very least that there'll be no snow, and this record will hold for the latest snowfall, and we'll break it January 29th, and we're looking at the next few days, and there's no real chance for snow. We'll probably break that, plus the drought that we've not seen for any snow so far, for basically 320 or something days in Central Park. We'll probably break that too, and probably get into the 330s. I'd imagine so. And also, I think it is pretty safe to say too that we'll go through the months of December and January without any record accumulating snow in Central Park. So basically, all three of those records will probably be broken. And I know a lot of people are upset about that, but I will say one thing, and that is winter, especially in Central Park, has thrown us surprises before. Because I've seen years, and maybe for next week's discussion, I'll pull up the Central Park snow records that go all the way back to 1869. Yes, they do go that far back. I'll bring that thing up, and you'll see that there's this one winter. I think it's the winter of 1997 to 98. And maybe other winters too, that we don't see much snow throughout the actual winter months. But by the time we get to March or April, we have this big snowstorm, and it makes up for a decent amount of our snowfall. If not, it still gives us some measurable snow, on compared to the rest of the winter where we didn't have it. So I will say, for those along the east, and of course reassuring myself that we still have February, all of February, and even if we have to narrow it down to the last 2 weeks of February and March, and the first 2, 3 weeks of March, it's still there, and the potential is still there for snow, and we should not lose hope yet. Just saying that we should not lose hope, and we'll see if the chances come, and I'm pretty sure there will be a chance, because I've also been seeing the talk of a lot of people saying that will we go snowless for the first time ever in Central Park, and to that right now I do not say I will say no, but we'll have to see. because you never know. Just saying that right now. But with that being said, nothing else to go over for today. Once again, please do let me know, should I make a title card? Because I've been wondering, maybe I should take my thumbnails that I have in the, the thumbnails that I put out every time I do a discussion. Maybe I should use that, make it ahead of time before I record the video, then use it as a title card. Should I do that? Let me know. And whatever you guys will say, I will do. But please let me know, and I will incorporate it. If we especially do get enough comments before next video, I will incorporate it then. But please let me know, tell me. And not only should you let me know, but if you're new, please subscribe, please like, and please turn the notification bell to get my videos, and share with other people too. Let's grow this channel and get as far as we can before hurricane season, so we have at least a decent community, a decent community to help us track and give each other information for this hurricane season, which is what I'm here for, and which is what I'm looking forward for all of us to be here for. But with that being said, that does it for this discussion for today. Enjoy your rest of your weekend and enjoy the week ahead. We'll see you back next Saturday. Till then, stay safe, peace, love, and kindness to all, and have a great week. See you.